Hey, we're doing a slow down. All right, folks, we're back. Now, one other thing I want to mention here. I actually just received this. I don't even know how I got it. But um, if you were watching earlier in our Communist Manifesto section, um, we actually got this from a well, I've seen it before, but we've actually got this from a publication called Bohica, B-O-H-I-C-A Concepts, and it's at P.O. Box 546, Randall, Washington 98377. We're going to get it up on the screen here in a minute. But I want to just show you some of the particular publications that this Bohica Concepts is mentioning here. If we could get some close-up shots here. Just 4 or 5 of them if we could. First off, we have vaccines. Are they really safe and effective? And of course, we've had a lot of discussion about radiation treatments that were given to American people. Right here it is. Vaccines, and you know how you got your shots for tots and all the little government mandated shots that they're forcing us to take now. Then of course you have the Gulf War illness. There's plenty of indication, folks, that these shots, these vaccines that they're giving, that they're trying to force people to get these days, is another one of those scenarios where, if you remember when Jesus was born, King Herod, the emperor at the time, stated to some of his men that to bring me King Jesus, bring me baby Jesus, because I want to adore him. Where in fact he wanted to slay him and wanted to kill Jesus. And I think that there's plenty of indication to suggest that that these vaccines, these government mandated shots, are. Oh, I am? Okay. All right. Well, we can't show prices here, but anyway, here's one that we've actually shown on this show before, and this is called Black Helicopters Over America. I'm going to cover up the price there, but it is a catalog. It's Black Helicopters Over America, and if you can get that, basically talking about. It's a book by Jim Keith, and Strike Force for the New World Order. Basically, you've seen these black helicopters flying all over. Of course, some of them I think are justified, and some of them are not unjustified. Just to move on here with a few more of these in this book here. Here's one. Global Bondage. This is a book written by Cliff Kincaid. We could get this one on there. Global Bondage. The UN plan to rule the world. And you see, of course, it's not really the UN, it's the secret society and the inner elite that control the UN that are going to be doing this, or plotting to do this. Here's another one by Pastor Pete Peters about vaccines. We could get this one in here. This is just like a little pamphlet here. There's some... I don't know what that was, but here's one by Pastor Pete. There's some black helicopters. There's some footage we got. Of course, I'm not making any claims as to what they're doing, whether they're involved in drug raids or whatever they're involved in, but I don't know, folks. Judge for yourself. Okay, here's the another one we have here by Pastor Pete Peters. He is the pastor at Scriptures for America, LaPorte, Colorado. And he did a little book also as well on vaccinations and government mandated shots. And there's evidences in here. like I said, going back to the old swine flu epidemic that the government created, the different things that these government mandated shots. Of course, they tell us they're all in our best interest, but anybody that knows what's going on knows that that's all a lie. Also, one thing I want to talk about briefly here was I saw Madeleine Albright talking about how that they're cracking down on some of these drug kingpins, supposedly. Well, this is all a lie, folks, because anybody that's informed knows that the people that control Madeleine Albright are the main drug trafficker, control the international drug trafficking ring. So my best guess is that they are either plotting to maybe to use some possible military airstrikes against some of their small-time drug competition, and/or they're plotting maybe to move against some patriot movements in different countries and through different airstrikes. But it's definitely not what Madeleine Albright says it is, nor is Bill Clinton's concern about the new federal anti-smoking law for the kiddies. Here they are prostituting the kids again for protection of the kiddies, where in fact we know this is a lie because they subsidize the tobacco industries by umpteen billions of dollars. So this is just more lies, more means that create more laws, make more people criminals of the state, make small businesses criminals of the state that don't comply to the new selling of tobacco to the kiddies. So they prostitute the kiddies and various mechanisms, the environment and whatnot, to make people criminals of the state. Here's another book here, Surviving Global Slavery. This is written by Robert Speer. We could get a shot of this one here. Surviving Global Slavery. I don't know which one you all are shooting out of, but okay. Right there's that one. Of course, we can't show any prices up here, so Surviving Global Slavery is another one by Jim Speer. We're just going to go through a few of these here because, here's a good one. This is Out of Control, written by Brenda Scott. It's called Out of Control, Who's Watching Our Child Protection Agencies. You know, that agency that does a good job taking kids out of people's homes, whatnot. And she's raising the question here in this book about who's watching the child protection agencies. I guess we're to assume that they're totally uncorrupt and definitely have the kids' best interests at heart. If we get a shot at close-up of that, or huh? Do I? Okay, whatever. Let's see. So this is a magazine that, quite frankly, I don't even know how it was actually given to me. Here's a couple other books. I want to plug these books real quick, and not only the books, but where folks can call and get some information, some alternative information, folks, than what you will get in the so-called mainstream. Here's another book written by let's see. Gary Kaw. It's called What's Behind the New World Order. If we can get a shot of this. And that's another book there. The price is there, hid there. And another book beside that, another book by Pastor Dave Barley concerning vaccinations. And he's not claiming it's the mark of the beast, but possibly a mark of the beast. Of course, the Bible is specific about injecting things in your skin and all of this kind of thing. Even the transfusion of blood and all of this is against Bible law. Of course, a lot of people don't follow Bible law anymore because supposedly the old laws have been done away with. So you follow Caesar's laws, as the World Council of Churches and the National Council of Churches teaches us. Okay, just a few more here, then we'll get on to some callers. And then we'll go ahead and put this, anyone's interested in maybe receiving a sample issue of this particular magazine. There's one more I want to mention here. Let's see. Well, let's see if I can find it. Oh, here's a good one right here I want to mention. This is the Waco wall poster. And I'll cover the price on that one if we can get a shot of this one. This is the Waco wall poster. Of course, we're going to be sending y'all, anybody that's interested, to Waco, Texas on a bus charter April 19th. It's just about 49 days from now. And basically, he's basically quoted underneath it saying, "I'm with the government and I'm here to help you." So if you believe that, once again, folks, I got some swampland in Arizona that I'd like to sell you. Now, one more that I want to just mention here. Well, maybe I won't be able to find it. But anyway, there was one in here. There were several different types of things in here concerning herbology. If you're into natural herb remedy cures instead of getting sucked into the pharmaceuticals and all of the FDA and the AMA approved medical type things. No, I can't find it. But it was actually a book by Gary Kaw, who was at one time a former high-level bureaucrat who, through different documents and through investigation while he was inside the mechanism, found out what was happening and wrote a book. Right here it is. I found it. This is Gary Kaw's book, who was a one-time he broke silence by a high-ranking government official. European and Middle East trade specialist Gary Kaw was warned by a top-level government agency to keep quiet or risk loss of his position as senior trade specialist for the state of Indiana. Kaw has chosen to make public the documents that have passed through his hands. He exposes the political forces around the world that are now cooperating to unite the people of this planet under a new world order. Refusing to keep quiet, Gary Kaw was dismissed from his position as European and Middle East trade specialist. He is now embarked on a nationwide crusade to warn Americans that time is running out. In his book, En Route to Global Occupation, Kaw recounts how his background and position in government enticed the leaders of the globalist movement to approach him. Who are the people behind the movement that will enslave America? Because of his high-level position in government, which took him around the world and into the company of global leaders, Kaw was able to obtain information unavailable to most researchers. He reveals the names of national leaders and media celebrities who are secretly collaborating to betray the American public and form one world government. And this is his book, Gary Kaw's book. It's called En Route. This is just kind of a low-quality type magazine publication here. You find that the underground movement is not financed by the other side, so they have to make the best. Now put that back up a minute. They have to make the best that they can with it. And go ahead. Let's put this back up a minute. Okay. That's Gary Kaw's book, a former high-level government official, book en route to global occupation. Okay, now if you're interested in obtaining I guess a sample copy of this publication, Bohica Concepts, we do have a slate that you can. I hope we have it up on the screen here in a minute. But it has some alternative information as to maybe what's going on. And that's it right there. It's Bohica Concepts, department number 88, P.O. Box, let's see, 546. I can't even read it from here. Let me get to it. 546, Brando, Washington. And the phone number is area code 360-497-7075. So if you're interested in, I guess you could call or write them and ask for a free sample copy of their publication. And I'm just guessing that they'd be happy to get one out there to you. You can also, for any information concerning alternative news and information, you can text Mars office here in Austin, Living Truth Ministries, at it's area code 512-263-9780, I believe, 263-9780. And that's normal business hours, and I know Tex would be happy to send you a free newsletter out on from his ministry. Now with that, folks, we got a full slate of calls. We're going to go ahead and take some calls and see what's on the public's mind. You're on the air, my friend. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Is it me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wonderful. During the little film section that you had
Yes, sir.
earlier,
Yes, sir.
it appeared to me that a lot of the little news blurbs, if you'll excuse me here, I don't know exactly what all to say, was about the IRS. Some of them were, and some of the... I've talked to you before.
Okay.
And I've talked to Erickson, talked to several people. But what I have discovered is that the IRS is the Gestapo in this country.
That's one of the main mechanisms, yes, sir. But there's other mechanisms. There's the EPA, there's the OSHA. They're, in my opinion, they're using various front agencies under the disguise of helping us.
Right, okay.
Okay, but go ahead.
Okay, well, the reason that I keep calling, and I'm just trying to find out, I'm being garnished. My wages are being garnished, and I'm going down. And I've always worked hard. I'm already retired from one occupation, and had to change back in the 80s when for instance, the unions were shut down by Ronald Reagan or what have you, but through the air traffic controllers, and then everyone found a way to beat the unions out here in Texas, and which is okay, fine. I was able to go out and retrain myself, but the thing about it is, through the years 1991 to 1996, I was just barely getting by, and the IRS went back on me on all those years when I was just doing freelance work and estimated what they thought that I owed them. And now they come at me now that I'm reestablished, I'm making a good living, so we think you owe us this much money, and they went to my employer and said, okay, this is how much this man owes, and we're making you take it out of his check and give it to us. Is there anybody out there that can tell me how to stop this? I don't mind paying a little money if I owe it, but somebody stop this.
Well, I've got one suggestion that I know of, but there's no guarantee of any of this. But I do have one number. His name is Irwin Schiff, and it's 1-800-TAX-NO-MO. 1-800-TAX-NOMO. Are you familiar with him?
I've got the number. A friend of mine give me that number.
Yeah, he's considered to be one of the I guess one of the nation's experts on the whole tax code and how.
Okay.
But that would be the first place that I would send.
Okay, now let me tell you what the big lie is. When I went in to meet the representative, they were very hard-nosed, very difficult, and I paid in through my check maybe 6-7 months, and then I just called them up. I said, "Look, I've had enough. This is it. I'm not doing this no more. I don't care what y'all do. I'll quit my damn job." And they said, "Okay, well, we'll send you the forms to settle up, just maybe on a 10 cents on the dollar or something." And they won't tell you that you can do that. They won't tell you that they have representatives in their own organization that will help you out. They will just steal from you as long as they can steal from you. And that's I want someone out there to call in. I know this may be a boring subject, but they're killing people. I had a CPA tell me if the American public knew what the IRS was doing to a large percentage of this population, there'd be a uprising within 2 weeks.
No,
that's what I've heard by a CPA.
Well, I know that they are doing a lot, and I think it's going to accelerate worse.
Well, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Hey, give that number a call. Try Irwin Schiff. See if he can at least, if he can't do nothing, maybe he knows somebody that will.
All right.
1-800-TAX-NO-MO.
You betcha.
Thanks. By the way, while we're on that, just why that particular caller brought that up, let's go ahead and put up the, what is it, the fourth, let's put up that, do you all still have that Communist Manifesto about the graduate income tax? Let's go ahead and put that up just for all the people out there. Well, that I think he should pay his fair share anyway, like I do, and being a good little slave, and just maybe because that you haven't been hounded by him yet. What's that? Just because you haven't been hounded by it yet, just because they haven't bothered you yet, or the property tax people haven't bothered you yet, that's the same type of philosophy that when all these other regimes move in, and when everybody else, when other people were getting snuffed out, nobody stood up for them. By the time it came to them, there was no one else to assist in their demise. But that there, my friends, is it's actually the second plank of Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto, and of course it's a heavy progressive income tax, graduated income tax, and today we in our system we just foolishly call it the IRS and paying your fair share, which, by the way, April 15th is coming up, and it's officially on the Jeff Davis Show declared as April Fool's Day for many Americans who even think that the money is going to the government. In fact, goes right into the coffers of I think the fourth or fifth plank of the Communist Manifesto, being the Federal Reserve Bank. So April 15th, April Fool's Day, is gradually approaching us, and then shortly thereafter, of course, we've got our Journey to Waco, which we've already got some calls on. But there's the fifth plank is actually where the second plank goes to, and that is the centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with state capital, an exclusive monopoly, and today we call that the Federal Reserve. So, moving right along here, we got our Journey to Waco. If you're interested in taking a trip, bus chartered up to Waco, April 19th this year, which is about 49 days away. The Jeff Davis Show is sponsoring in part bus charter to Waco, Texas, to leave here about 6:30 a.m. for the annual memorial service, and hopefully we'll be back around 4 or so. And if you're interested, call the 370-9558. and we'll give you the details as to how you can participate and go on up and meet some of the people that survived Mount Carmel and can participate in the memorial service. Next caller, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi.
Hey, it's nice to talk to you.
Thanks.
I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got a kind of a two-part question. It really doesn't have, I don't guess, a whole lot to do with, or maybe just a little bit to do with what you've been talking about in the last hour.
Doesn't matter. Just whatever is on your mind.
Okay, first of all, there are certain, I mean, we all know that the media is doing this and doing that, and then there are certain aspects of the media that we pay attention to in a positive light. Is there some sort of litmus test or some sort of, I know that, aside from common sense and, intuition, is there some sort of a method or litmus test on which media stories we should listen to and which we should write off and ignore and say, well, that's BS, and ones that we should really hone in on and say, hey, that's the one I need to pay attention to because that has the most, appeal to me.
Generally, what's your first name?
Mark.
Generally speaking, Mark, I generally have a negative perception of pretty much anything coming out of the mainstream media.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. Now, it's not that it.
Well, my question is.
I'm not going to tell you that any of it is really good per se.
Just some sort of a test, though, to kind of separate the good from the bad as much as we can to get out of the gray area. Something that we really want to hone in on.
Well, one thing that I have.
I mean, what do you do? I mean, you had a newspaper out earlier. I was just wondering, what do you do to separate what you want to read from what you don't want to read?
Well, I normally do not. I don't spend much time reading the so-called establishment newspapers because largely I think that they're just feeding us either a bunch of insignificant information or they're giving us little stories about Clinton or Gingrich or these types of circus stories that never amount to a hill of beans. Mm-hmm. It's like the old Rome and the bread and circus scenario where they keep the slaves focused on issues of no significance, bread and circus.
Yeah.
But every now and then, let me mention to you, every now and then, though, there are some things that sneak by, even in the establishment media, and mainly because they can't control everything that everybody's saying.
Yeah.
Largely the corporations and the FCC, I believe, are somewhat in control of the editorial content and these types of things, but they can't control what everybody's saying, what everybody's writing on all these issues.
Yeah.
So
I understand what you're saying about that. I mean, it's kind of like it's a little bit of that our forefathers. We hold these truths to be self-evident. I mean, we all understand that point, but I'm saying digging down deep in the things you and I pay attention to, still within that. Some people call it counterculture. We call it whatever we're into. Whatnot, you call it what you want, but even in that, isn't there some sort of a kind of a weeding out process, some kind of things you have to rift through and say, hey, wait a minute, these guys are going overboard. I'm gonna, toe the line, stay the course, and not get distracted by, any kind of like, just op-end, just, you know what I'm saying? It's just kind of, every now and again you hear something that's really a little bit off the board, and I just want to.
You mean it's got some truth or some information in it, or
no?
I don't know what you mean by off the board.
Well, mixed in with a lot of the truth and the information you get from some of the publications that they're not in the mainstream media.
You mean that
So, what I'm saying is there are publications where you can get a lot of good information in. But at the same time, you get a lot of static, a lot of flack, a lot of gray area, little op-ed articles that are almost irritating. It's almost kind of an eyesore to see it in the same magazine or publication that you hold so dear to you. It's almost like you understand what I'm saying?
Well, now to be honest with you, I really don't. Are you referring to the mainstream or the alternative stuff now?
The alternative stuff.
Well, I will say this, Mark, that the other side also throws out misinformation.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay, so you have to kind of separate.
We've already discounted the mainstream. We all know.
No, but what I'm saying is even in the so-called alternative stuff, In fact, I would say that I've been guilty of it myself, playing some videos and things where people are calling for the cashless society by 1993 and 94, and it obviously hasn't happened. So what I'm saying is I think the other side, even in the alternative Patriot network, the other side is getting information out, misinformation out into that arena as well to keep people confused.
Yeah.
That's just my it's when you're dealing in this subject, it's kind of, actually, to be honest with you, it's kind of hard to decipher what's good and what isn't. So basically what I say
we should
is
follow our own convictions, but I'm just wondering if there's
right.
a method that you've worked out that we can all use to kind of
Well, I'll
weed out
tell you,
some of the nonsense.
I can tell you, Mark, where I'm at. Basically, where I'm at, and I've been this way for many years. Well, about 3 or 4 years. I really don't even have to read a lot of this stuff anymore because I can watch Clinton and I can watch Albright and I can watch these establishment toads and listen to them and get a pretty good feel on what it is that they're plotting right off the bat. Whether it's Bush, any of these cronies that they throw, Gingrich, any of these front men that they throw out at them. If you just watch enough of it and understand enough of what their goals are, the secret society connections, how huge this thing is, all the different tentacles, you can almost get a good gauge just from perception as what are they planning to do now? Of course, under the disguise of doing good for us. You can almost get to the point where you can see the manipulation and read directly what it is that they're plotting. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Now, that's just me. Now, as far as as far as the information, there's no one is to say for sure exactly who's right on. Frankly, I don't believe everybody's right on everything.
Yeah.
I think that we're all there's documents out there that are good documents, that are well documented, and then there's other things that are gray, like you said, and even the establishment media throws out some things I think that are. It's kind of like you said, you got to kind of go on your own convictions. But the one thing that we do know is that we're not getting a lot of information from the mainstream media, and what I'm trying to accomplish with this show is to get people the idea that, hey, maybe we're not getting all the information we need to make educated decisions on our lives and if we're being manipulated or not, and to try to seek out some alternative sources and let them make up their minds for themselves what's good and what isn't.
You're right.
See, as long as they're just being fed, as long as they're just working 8 to 5 and coming home and watching Dan Rather, eating their dinner and going to bed, their minds are locked.
Yeah.
Their minds are locked. So our goal should be to at least start introducing some alternative information and get people thinking some new concepts, some new ways of looking at issues, and that's, to me, that's the work at hand that we have in front of us.
Okay.
So it's not really, I don't any endorsement.
I just got 1 second question that will lead to a short third question, and then I'm off. Okay.
Go ahead.
First of all, I was wondering what, if any, effect. We're talking about. First of all, do you believe in the powers that be sort of manipulating the national stream of consciousness?
The national what?
Stream of consciousness?
Oh, certainly.
Do you believe in that? I think so as well.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
I think if they can tap into the national heart of things, they can pretty much wrangle anything around that they'd like.
Oh, you bet. In fact,
Yeah.
I'd say it's huge
Yeah.
propaganda.
I was just wondering if you could cite any examples, and let's say, well, let's stay away from cable TV. Let's focus on Hollywood. What examples could you maybe cite for me, say in the last 2 years, of how Hollywood has worked to manipulate the national stream of consciousness? And
Okay.
then if you answer that for me, I'll let you go.
Okay,
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thanks. 2 examples. Number 1, the recent Grammys, where Hillary Clinton come out of nowhere and got a Grammy Award for her socialist communist "It Takes a Village" record. Number 2, there has been an onslaught of films coming from Hollywood: Dante's Peak, Independence Day, Asteroid, Volcano, the fire on the mountain. these particular movies are conditioning the public, if you've watched them, that there's a crisis, and in every situation, FEMA, the president, all of the big brother agencies are right there looking out for us, protecting us, and by golly, we couldn't stand for ourselves with all these agencies swarming all over the place to protect us. It's just a massive propaganda machine in place, conditioning the public to accept the fact that without these huge governmental bureaucracies, FEMA and all of these agencies, that plus it's repairing their image, plus it's conditioning the public to accept the fact that we couldn't live without these huge agencies. Next caller, you're on the air. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering what your views on minorities over the last 5 years. I think it's had a drastic change from being from the black male to the white male, and I was just wondering if you knew why.
Maybe I don't understand the gist of your question. What do you mean? Hello? Did we lose them? Okay. As far as I'm concerned, we're all in the same boat, and we're all either going to come together or we're going to hang together. So at this time I have no real biased views on anybody that's living in this land, because as far as I'm concerned, we're all going to go down the tubes if such is the case. And like I said, if we either hang together, we either come together, or we're all going to hang together.
Yeah.
You're on the air.
Jeff, Tony.
Hey, Tony, what's up?
Oh, everything's great.
Have you been watching any of the show?
I've been watching most of it.
What do you think?
It's a great show like always.
Thank you. Want to come down and be a guest again?
That would be good.
All right.
We finally got to Alex Jones. He's not talking up the Republicans anymore.
That's good.
Last couple times he's been putting them in the same boat with the Democrats.
Yeah, that's good.
The other thing that I wanted to mention is, what do you think's going on with the Middle East right now? I've been watching that real close. Looks like they're getting ready to start something big there.
Yeah, I haven't figured. What's your take on that? Do you have an opinion on that?
I think they're
See,
gonna...
let me just mention something quickly, Tony. I haven't been watching the establishment media quite enough probably to... I'm going to start. Since I'm changing my format a little bit, I'm going to start watching what they're throwing out so I can counter it. Because I've been having a lot of guests coming down here the last 3 months. But I haven't really been as up to what the other side's throwing out as I should be. So let me hear your take on that.
Well, so far, it looks like what they're trying to do is start a large war there with, they're going to bring in Iran and Iraq and Syria and the Palestinians against Israel. And I think what I think is going to happen is the U.S. is going to double-cross Israel.
Really?
Yeah, they're going to let them go, let them be on their own.
Well, that would be tough to believe that.
I know it, but but that's the slave masters, isn't it?
Yeah, but a lot of the slave masters live there, come from there. That's why it's so hard to disbelieve that, or why it's so hard to believe that.
Well, that's just my opinion, but
it could be.
It looks like they don't like the prime minister. I always forget his name. What is it? Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel.
Let me ask you: did you follow that thing with Madeleine Albright?
Right.
What was that? What was that specifically all about? They're using the phony drug war again for some shenanigans, my take on that was that they're using the phony the international drug war, which of course they're controlling the bulk of the market, but they're using that for some scheme, either to go in and bust up some countries. They're doing something with that. Did you catch her press conference?
I think what they're trying to do with that whole international drug scene is establish the one world government. In other words, they're saying we have to unite. That's one of the reasons we have to unite, because the international drug lords are too powerful.
Yeah, that could, yeah. Plus they could go in and create some chaos, more debt. There's several things they could be doing. My take was initially that they're going to go in and crack down on their small-time drug competition.
Well, they're going to do that all the time, but
right.
I think you know how they work, Jeff. They're always creating crisis and then
Right.
coming in as the saviors.
Oh yeah, it's standard plot.
But it's all building up to the New World Order and their little microchip, and the whole thing's still on. Looks like it's on schedule to me.
I think it's behind schedule, Tony.
You think it's behind schedule?
I think they're behind schedule. I really do. I think it's due to all the resistance and the information's getting out.
Okay.
Hey, we got to get. I appreciate your call. Hey, nice hearing from you.
You too. Thanks.
Keep in touch. Give us
right.
a call in the comment line.
Okay.
God bless y'all. We got to get out of here. See you next week at Monday. Monday, 7:30 p.m. Channel 10. Journey to Waco if you're interested in coming.
As if you should not look at your reflection in the mirror. How can I explain to you when you won't understand? You scoff me and you mock me and reject the truth at hand. You spread your vicious rumors all across this troubled land. You willfully and knowingly transgress from his command. Your mind has been made up for you by people you don't know, whose thought machines control the scene so well it doesn't show. How can I contain this anguish and this pain, knowing that your eyes are blinded by the lies? Have your eyes been blinded by the lies? Have your eyes been blinded by the lies? Yes, your eyes are blinded by the lies. Yes, your eyes are blinded by the lies. Every time I think about the damage that's been done, the anger wells inside me till I'm almost overcome. I want to tear the moon out of the sky and drop the sun. Why do I feel so all alone, like I'm the only one? Even though your eyes are open, they may never ever see. Your mind may never